Are you a business owner or employee who needs to network but is terrified of walking into a room full of people you don't know? Are you afraid of being left out of conversations or being awkward in the conversations you do have? Your tour guide, Faithann, is here to walk alongside you through the networking terrain, offering tips and tricks to network with ease. She'll also bring insightful interviews with successful business owners who have used networking to expand their businesses. Building relationships is the heart of networking, and generosity is the cruise ship that will navigate you toward those important relationships for your business or career. Grab your sunscreen and suitcase. Faithann is ready. Are you?
Hello there, and welcome to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast. I'm your host, Faithann. I'm glad you found the show. Networking is providing opportunities for others that they would not have except for you, so that you have standing to ask for opportunities from those same people when you need them. How do we create opportunities for others, and how do we ask for those same opportunities? Well, that's what this podcast is all about. It's what I'm here for. Let's dive into episode 27. Welcome, listeners, to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast. This week, we're welcoming a very special guest in the series, The Experts We Meet When We Network. I have on one of my networking mentors who I've known a really long time and has taught me a lot about what I even know about networking. I'm pleased to welcome Danielle Baily. Danielle, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Faithann, thanks so much for having me on.
And tell the listeners what you do.
Oh my goodness. So I am, in long terms, an efficiency and implementation consultant. In short terms, I help scatterbrained individuals make sense of their life and business through increasing their performance.
And you and I have worked together for a long time, and you have done exactly that. And you came into our business when we were in a very vulnerable time at about summer of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a fear that we were going to lose the business, and my husband had a fear that COVID was going to affect his health.
Mm-hmm.
I had no fear of my health being affected, and he had no fear of the business being affected. So we weren't able to connect on the fears, even though we were both very fearful. And you and I had a few conversations, and then you sent me an email and you said, based on what you shared, I think that I could help you, and just the right time. And I said, I need an advocate right now to help me with this fear of the business. That way I can be a support for my husband, in a different capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been working together ever since. And when I say the experts we meet, I am really talking about genuine experts who know all the things that I don't know. And so, Danielle, one of the things that I've noticed about you is that you know a lot about the brain. You know a lot about how the brain works. And I'm wondering if you might talk just briefly about two of your favorite aspects of the brain and how it works. And I can give you hints if it's too big of an answer, because I know there's two of them that have really helped me.
So I would think that in the networking sense, it would certainly be your reticular activator. So the reticular activator basically is the filing system of the brain. It decides what is important in the moment. And it also helps you from getting run over by a car, but it helps you recognize things you wouldn't normally recognize. And so one of my favorite explanations always is when you buy a vehicle, like you go and you buy a white Ford F-150 and it's the best choice you've ever made, and you drive off the lot and all you see is white Ford F-150s. It's because your brain now says it's important. And so it files it as important. And so when it comes to networking, it's going to be what people say. So you're wanting to use others' reticular activators to your advantage by saying things that are going to make them think about you when you're not around. You have to educate other people's brains how to notice, because we process billions of information an instant. We process billions of information instantly, and we have to filter it somehow. And so talking to and educating people's reticular activators in a networking setting is going to be the best thing that you can, one, know about the brain, but two, figure out how to do.
Right. I have so many examples of that just through BNI. And you do have the background. How we met is through
Mm.
Business Networking at International, which we call BNI for short. And you helped so many members with this very thing. And one of the first things you taught me was to be specific in the elevator pitch or the 60-second presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you ask for anyone,
Mm-hmm.
you get no
No
one.
one.
Because they can't grab onto that.
Right.
It's like the dollar bill machine, at the mall where you go in and it blows the dollar bills and you try and grab as many as you can. Well, how many times are you going to try if you never grab onto one? You're not going to want to try and grab again. So you got to give people that dollar bill so they have at least something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reticular activating system kicks in when you can be specific. And it's such a valuable skill that I learned early on from you and your mom, Cheska. In the very first elevator or 60-second presentation I wrote in your workshop, and I was so nervous. I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is good. I don't know. How are they going to like it? And then you guys asked for volunteers. I'm like, oh, do I volunteer? I don't know. And now I have a whole manual that teaches people how to do just that with the RAS in mind. And another thing that the RAS can be helpful for is to encourage people that if you spend enough time around them and you're consistently talking about the same things, that there's really no effort. Those situations are going to come up, and all of a sudden, they're going to be thinking of you, where the situations could have come up previously, and they would have not thought of you. But now their RAS is in full. The door's been opened in their brain to say Danielle's stuff is important. So when I hear people talking about being overwhelmed, chaotic in business, now I know because of my reticular activating system. So that's such a great thing to know in networking. And then talk about the amygdala briefly, and then we'll get on to what I really want you to talk about.
Yeah, the amygdala is such a big little guy.
Yeah.
Right? So it's an almond-shaped part of your brain that's inside your limbic system, and it's what we call our ancestry brain. And so what it does is it likes to react 3 to 6 seconds faster than our thinking brain. And it also houses all of our emotions. And it tends to react negatively first when it reacts faster than our thinking brain. So interestingly enough, when we don't really think about how it affects us as we move through just our daily lives, it's your ancestry brain, but it houses your fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. And so when you go into networking events, it's really interesting because you can have a negative reaction to something. And when you go again, your brain's going to tell you, no, 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 danger, danger, because the amygdala's job is to keep you safe and comfortable. And anytime you go into a networking scenario, it doesn't feel safe and comfortable, especially your first time. So your experience matters, but it's going to give you all of these signals of danger and want you to leave and want you to do all these different things. It's going to give you these signals, and they'll either be reinforced by the experience or they will be squashed by the experience that you end up having. But and interestingly enough, that part of your brain houses all of the emotions that you've ever had. And you can only, it can only pull up the emotion that is relevant, that the brain thinks is relevant to the event, which it may not actually be relevant to the event. So when you're driving to a networking event and you don't want to go, that is your amygdala saying, danger, danger, Will Robinson. And then when you get there, and all of that anxiety kind of creeps up and all the anxiousness creeps up, and then you go in, and you're either, if you make it in, let's be serious.
Right.
Let's be serious. There's so much that goes on to planning, going to a networking event and not even knowing that your brain is going to potentially work against you to get you there. Right? You wake up, you're like, I committed to this. Oh my goodness, this is early in the morning. You mean I have to put shoes on? And if you get out of the house and you drive there, that whole drive is, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know who's going to be there. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just scared. I don't know what's going to happen. And then if you get in the parking lot, and especially if you're early, because visitors are always early to every event. If you've never been there, you always show up early. And then if nobody's there, you're like, am I in the right place? And there's all the self-doubt and the self-doubt. And your amygdala goes, oh, wait, I told you this wasn't going to be a good idea. You should have just stayed home in bed. Why'd you put your shoes on today? And then hopefully someone shows up and makes it into the meeting. So at least you know, okay, well, I might be a fool if I'm in the wrong spot, but at least I can go ask.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you make it in the door, because your brain is signaling the whole time, lions, tigers, bears, because it's supposed to protect you. And you get in the door and hopefully there'll be people inside that facility that, yes, you are where you're supposed to be and make you feel comfortable. But your brain is working against you the entire time getting you there. And I would also venture to say, even if you've been there before, sometimes attending events based on what could be happening in your life is just hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the hardest part about humans is that our brains often work against us to protect us, but we just think it's us being ridiculous.
Yeah. And then we beat ourselves up.
The blame, shame, and guilt. Oh, stop being so ridiculous. You're so silly. Da, 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 da. Then our negative self-talk comes in, which is a whole nother side of a conversation for maybe a different day.
Right. And so I would love to bring in the fact too that this is why it is so vital. It's not important, it's vital. If you want to have people at your networking event show up consistently and visitors to return, it is vital that there is somebody who guides those new people from wherever the registration happens to the middle of the action so that that person arrives and finds himself in the middle of the action without hardly even knowing it because somebody has skillfully started getting them talking. And is it true that once even just talking to somebody and answering questions can be a way that the amygdala can start to calm down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it gets the other part of your brain thinking.
Right.
It gets your prefrontal cortex. It gets your thinking brain thinking, and that's going to calm down your amygdala.
Right. So if you are an organizer of an event and you do not have, if you have not intentionally thought about that new person's journey and thought about what's happening to them, this would be a good practice, a good goal to say, I want to make sure that the visitor from wherever that registration table is to where the action is, there needs to be a guide that's guiding them from the table to the action. Because we get all concerned about the registration table, and we've got friendly, smiling faces at the registration table. And then we say, there it is. And then the person has to walk from the registration table to where the action is, and to them it's a valley. To us, it's 10 feet. But to them, it's a real valley. And I have actually happened to me where I got to the registration table and there was nobody to walk me from the registration table to where the action was in a very dark room full of people. I didn't know a single person. I turned around and left. Me.
Wow.
But if somebody could have walked me in and at least introduced me to one person, that's all it would have taken.
Right.
Then I would have stayed. But I was like, how do I do this? I don't know anybody. And I didn't have any skills at that time, enough skills.
Right.
The amygdala, it won.
Yep.
My thinking brain lost that day. And so you, as a organizer of any event, you want their prefrontal cortex to win the battle. And you can be intentional about helping their prefrontal win the battle in this scenario.
What I think is interesting is I actually went to, so it's funny you mentioned the registration table because I went to an event recently that there wasn't one. And interestingly enough, humans will crowd at the doorway because they want to be able to leave. So you should actually have your registration table a good way in the door, right, to move people through. But they didn't have a registration table. And there was this big guy. He was tall. And if I say he's tall, right? Because I'm tall for a girl. And so, but he was tall and he was just asking us what our names were and then like handing us our name tags. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know. And girl, this was like a month ago. This was not years and years ago. Like this was a month ago. And I'm like, what are we doing? It was a weird flow set up anyway for an event. but everybody's congregating around, and then there's this guy like, throwing throwing name tags around because you had to pre-register. It was really weird. It was one of the only events I've been to recently that didn't have a registration or a check-in of some sort with someone saying, food's over here, Jimmy's over here,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So that, I mean, do have some kind of registration or greeter, but
Mhm.
then also have a guide that
Mhm.
takes them from the greeting stage into the middle of the action in an easy, comfortable way, asking them questions, telling them how happy they are that they decided to come. You know what I like to say sometimes? You could have picked anywhere else to be and you chose this meeting. Thank you.
Mhm.
Now that's a great. And then the person be like, "Yeah, I did. I could have
Mhm.
been at home,
Right. I didn't have
and
to
I
put my
didn't."
shoes on.
Right. Yeah, that's so important. So, and you mentioned commitment. So I want to spend the rest of our time talking
Uh-huh.
about your very unique Accountability Champions
Mhm.
program because I've used it. I think this Accountability Champions program, if you have a plan in place to grow your business through referrals and that you know you need to network, and you say, I'm going to network. Now what? I think
Mhm.
the Accountability Champions is a perfect way to, what is it called when you act on your commitments, not your feelings?
Yes. Mhm.
So tell us about that program and how it can help somebody who wants to network and would like some accountability as
Mhm.
they do it.
So I love this program. Accountability Champions was created out of a necessity. It was really out of a need. And so it's a 14-week program where we spend 1 week preparing what we're going to do. We're going to prepare 3 goals and the tactics to complete those goals. And all of those goals and tactics are going to be reviewed. So you're not off on your own. You're not like, oh, I didn't tell anybody that I'm doing this, so nobody will ever know. But I also review them to make sure that they are measurable, tactical, will actually get you where you need to go, and it's not just a bunch of miscellaneous activity. So I have about 3 or 4, there might even be more people in the group right now that are specifically using this program for networking. And it is, yes, about attending networking events, but it is also about the follow up because the networking doesn't happen at the meeting. The work doesn't happen at the meeting. The work happens outside the meeting when you get to know the people that you've met, when you build those relationships, and relationships are what lead to referrals.
Hi, listeners. Are you someone who struggles to make a great first impression when you meet others? Faithann has put together her guide to help you make a great first impression no matter where you are. This quick guide gives you simple tips to leave a powerful first impression, the first step to relationship building. Go grab this free resource today by clicking on the impressions link in the show notes.
So Accountability Champions in this vein really helps to focus on how many events we're going to, the type of event. So I even, during prep week of this most recent Accountability Champions program, I had lengthy conversations with these folks about, okay, what does networking mean to you? Where are you going to go? How often are you going to go? Because there's such a difference between weekly meetings, monthly meetings. People just don't know. And what you don't know, you don't know. And what you don't know can actually hurt you if you're trying to use this in a way to make money, really, in a way to create referrals and relationships, referral relationships. So, Accountability Champions is a 14-week program. We spend that time preparing. It is tedious, it is wonderful, it is the best part of the program. We have weekly accountability meetings where we show up and we talk about how it's working, successes, challenges. There is a calendaring method in there to teach people how to put the things on the calendar that matter, which also means putting the networking events on the calendar that matter, put the follow-up time on the calendar that matters, reaching out to people, or even better, setting the one-to-one when you're there at the meeting versus trying to be at the top of somebody's email box. Like, good night. Good luck with that. It's one of my, I always say this, I even tell my participants this, count each time I say it's my favorite part, but it is one of my favorite programs for the fact that it is applicable, it is tangible, it is supportive, and the results are amazing. And being able to hear and see people attend these meetings, do the actions that they say they're going to do, be consistent in those actions, because you can't just do it once and expect something to happen, but be consistent in those actions. We had some great celebrations on our most recent weekly
We
call.
did.
We did.
We did.
I was over here crying. I was crying like a mama. I was like, oh my God, it's working. The networking was working. The one-to-ones were working. The creating the relationships was working. And it then created a client
Right.
for one of our participants. And this is week 11. So we want this stuff to be fast, but it isn't. And I happen to know this participant has been working longer than just these 11 weeks on these specific activities.
Right.
She's done at least 2 other 14 weeks on these same things. And so it just takes time and it takes visibility. But the accountability champions will allow you to get things done. And in the networking vein, it's just an amazing way to stay consistent, be top of mind, and then create the things, because it's not just about attending the meetings and the follow-ups. These tactics that I will create or help the participants craft will have things like practice your elevator pitch, clarify your message, clarify your target market. And so we put these in, clarify your referral partners. We put these in order based on what needs to happen throughout the program so they continue to do the work.
Right. And I think you had a travel agent maybe a year ago or so, and actually she tracked her business based on the actions that she was doing in Accountability Champions. Or maybe that was the other thing, the consistency boot camp.
I think that was Consistency Boot Camp. She generated $3,000 in commissions from tracking those actions. And that's a shorter program. So it's even more impactful with this longer program.
Right. And so people, even if they didn't want to have networking as part of their
Correct.
goal, they get to pick.
Yes.
But often when we're picking our goals, it's so nice to have an ice sculptor. That's what I think of you as, my ice sculptor, because I start with this block of ice and I say, here, Danielle, here's my goal. And you chip away and you say, no, that's not measurable, Faithann. That won't work. No. Now, what specifically about this are you going to do? And by the time you're done with it, it's a swan. And I've presented you a block of ice and thinking it's a swan. So, but yeah, it can be any kind of goal that you want. And if you're networking, this would be a really good program. And that's why, there's just experts all around us. And so it's important that when we are networking too, that we're not so focused on getting referrals for ourselves that we forget to be open to those other people that have services that we would be well served to take advantage of it if they meet a need. And I mean, a person that you've networked with for 2-3 months is going to be so much better than a Google, just a random best electrician in OKC. And there's accountability too built in, especially if it's a weekly meeting. If you're going to be serving a client and who's also that you're seeing on a weekly basis, then there is some added level of excellence that you would want to give that networker, because you don't want them telling the group that you suck. So you're going to be like, no, this is a BNI, because in window cleaning, man, I would often say, okay, this one's BNI, and everybody knew what that meant. My staff knows. Oh, okay. I mean, we strive to serve everyone.
Sure.
Having said that, I know I'm going to have to face that person next week.
Right.
So I want them to know this is BNI. So thank you very much for your expertise. Thank you for all the help you've given me over the years. I mean, this is just one of the best people that I've ever met, in both as a friend and, to help me develop into the Networker's Tour Guide and everything that I've been able to accomplish. I always ask people 2 questions before I let them go. What do you not like to see when you network?
Mm. First, let me say, Faithann, you're welcome.
Oh,
It has been it's been an absolute pleasure working with you, seeing you grow. And I remember when you came to me with the Networkers Tour Guide idea. And I, of course, am very supportive of all of the ideas. And I'm like, okay, let's shift gears, I guess.
yeah. It took you a couple of,
It did. It took me some convincing
yeah.
because you were so very good at the other business at Window Cleaning Plus. And so but it's just great. I know what it's like to have a passion. I know what it's like to have a skill set that you can teach. And I love that you are not selfish in that skill set, that you are out there teaching and training people to do the things that just are not being taught. And I love that about you. So, what do I not like in networking? You really want me to go there?
I do.
Okay.
I ask everybody.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Whatever you're comfortable sharing.
I don't like it when I walk into a room and everybody's sitting down on their dang phone. It drives me batty. Are you here to meet people or are you here to doom scroll in the middle of the afternoon?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I think that this is from an experience standpoint. You know, as an experienced networker, I know I'm going to see that and it drives me crazy. And sometimes I will make people talk to me anyway. I will see that table that's like completely closed in with their elbows on the table, their phone next to their face, and I will literally like tap and make them talk to me because I think it's fun.
Yeah.
But like most people don't do that, but I hate seeing that. Like be present in the moment. Your doom scroll can wait.
Right.
Your whatever you think is more important can wait. You decided to go here. You don't need to check your email. I promise you, no one's going to die in your email.
Right.
And that is just so frustrating to me to see talented people in a room where they can provide value, sitting down and not talking to people.
Yes.
Drives me nuts.
I agree. Especially if you're hosting the event.
Oh my gosh, what a disappointment, right? Like events are hard.
Yes.
Networking events are harder.
Yes.
I think. I mean, it's just like you put your blood, your sweat, your tears, all of this in here. You get all these people together and you see like a number of people, but they're not doing the networking activity that you're wanting them to do.
Mm-hmm.
They might as well have just stayed where they were or out in their car. Maybe they should have not made it into the meeting. I don't know. I don't know.
All right. Well, what do you like to see when you network?
I love to see people on their feet, if at all, physically possible, on their feet, talking to each other. Again, being that guide of, oh my gosh, you need to meet so-and-so. Having prepared questions. I always come with 3 prepared questions at minimum that are not, what do you do?
Right.
I don't really care what you do, actually.
Mm-hmm.
What you do is a material to how we can help you in this networking setting. And so I come pre-prepared with questions. I love seeing people standing up. I love it when people ask me questions that are out of the box.
Yeah.
And there's just this movement and this energy about being up, about being standing up, and just really talking and connecting. And there's just this liveliness about it. And that is my favorite thing.
No, I love it too. One of the questions that I got from your mom.
Mm-hmm.
It is, what are you struggling most in your business with? She had a better way to say it.
Sure.
But, what's your biggest struggle in your business right now? Boy, that's a great question because we on the surface are so competent. Usually business owners are very competent people and we're doing and we're greeting and we're growing and people don't think to ask us what our struggles are or what we're most proud of either.
Right.
Because everyone thinks we just got it all put together.
Well, because we have our pre-prepared answers, don't you know? We have the answer to what do you do? We have the answer to how do you solve, what problems you solve for your clients. Like we have all these pre-prepared surface answers. And what are you most proud of is not when we get asked. So it's not something we're prepared for. What are you struggling with most right now is not something we're prepared for because we don't expect people to care. Really?
Right, right. And when you could show that you care,
Mm-hmm.
the rapport starts right away. Wow, somebody's asking me.
Mm-hmm.
Or I like to ask people things and just kind of dance around like different questions. And then you'll ask them a question and their eyes light up.
Mm-hmm.
I was asking somebody about their church.
Mm-hmm.
Her eyes lit up like, okay,
Mm.
this is where we're going to stay right here
Right.
because she loves talking about her church. I can see it in her eyes.
Right.
That isn't that so much better than
Right.
just those generic questions or doom scrolling
Right.
or sitting back and letting your amygdala win the
Oh
battle.
my gosh.
None of those things are as fun. And when you can start engaging that prefrontal cortex and get some skills, get some accountability, you can have more fun at
Mm-hmm.
networking meetings. I love going to networking meetings. I have so much fun at them
Mm-hmm.
because I'm talking and I'm listening to people and I'm getting to know how they tick and what makes them proud. And I'm getting to talk about my business. But it takes a process, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I've come a long way. We all have. And so I want to thank you. And when does the next? Oh, and let me clarify one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Your accountability champions, you don't need to live in Oklahoma to take part of it.
That's a
You've
great.
got people in all different states
I do.
participating.
Mm-hmm. Florida, California, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma. So yeah,
Right.
it's definitely it is a online type program because we do have our check-ins via Zoom, so you can be anywhere and plug in and have a good time with us.
Okay.
So the next one will start with prep week, which is very, very, very important. So I shut it down before prep week starts. Monday, April 28th
Okay.
is when we kick off prep week again. I shut registration down that day at 3 p.m. Central.
Okay.
So April 28th at 3 p.m. Central, I will shut down Accountability Champions and you will not be able to get in until the next one in August.
Okay.
I
Well,
wouldn't want anybody missing out.
right. Right.
Because I think the most important one that I only do 3 a year,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all my favorite. Tick mark. But I love the summer one because we can get really tactical on what are the important things to execute through the summer while we're still enjoying time with our family, going on vacations. So we're not 90 days behind by the time August comes and
Right.
going, oh my gosh, how are we going to generate money? Because we all know that the work we do today generates money in 90 days.
Right.
So the accountability champions that happens through the summer, and I have another program too that happens through the summer, those are my favorite because it gets people focused on the tactical activity to get their business moving and keep their business moving while still having fun, going on vacations, and spending time with their families.
Excellent. So, listener, if you are thinking about having some accountability and some goals that you are trying to achieve, or maybe you have some loosely put together goals but aren't really sure how to narrow them down so that you can execute and you like some accountability, then consider checking out Danielle's Accountability Champions. Where can people find you?
Awesome. So it is daniellebaily.com. That is Baily without an E, right? So it'll be in the show notes, I'm sure. So daniellebaily.com is my website. It has all the programs on there. It'll have all the socials down at the bottom. I think I'm on a lot of them per the scheduling. So I think I'm on a lot of the socials, but I am most active on Facebook.
Okay.
And so that can definitely be where you can find me.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you again for coming on, for saying yes to coming on the Networkers Tour Guide podcast. And listeners, I want to thank you so much for listening and for having networking as one of your goals and one of the things you do to grow your business. And so as you network, as you go out, go network and remember the Reticular Activating System can be your friend when you network, and let's try and win that battle with our amygdalas. And don't negative self-talk when the fears start coming up. Just know that if you can get to the middle of the action and start interacting with people, likely your prefrontal cortex will win that battle.
You've been listening to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast with Faithann Baily. Share this episode with a friend and be sure to come back next week for more networking tips and tricks from the Networkers Tour Guide.